Oh, brilliant. Okay, so a very warm welcome, as I say, to this information webinar for Leadership Lighthouses. It's wonderful to have you here. We're really excited to be talking to you about this new program, what it means, what it's about, and to guide you through a bit of an understanding of the program journey, but then also the application process, and an opportunity to ask some questions at the end. So we're going to start by just kind of giving you a bit of background. The mission really for Leadership Lighthouses, what the program journey entails. We're going to talk through the eligibility criteria, sorry, and then the next steps and key dates for your diaries as well. Just a little bit about who we are. I mentioned that I'm Amit Chadha. I'm the Director of Programs at Claw Social Leadership. And if you're not familiar with Claw Social, we ultimately are here to enable leaders, social purpose leaders, to make the changes that they want to see within their communities, and within the wider sector. So we are committed and deeply passionate about making positive social change. And what we're focused on is ensuring that leaders have that support, that nurture, that they're equipped with the knowledge and tools and the networks, to be able to enable that change. So that's what we're really focused on. It's leadership development opportunities, really high quality programs to support leaders. And these are some of the core beliefs that we have. So we recognize and we realize this through the design of our programs, but also our core social leadership models that underpin our learning, is that we're always learning, right? It sounds a little bit obvious, but leadership development is lifelong. And so that means experiences on our programs go beyond the life of the program itself. It's all about developing networks and having that lifelong or career long support and the networks that can continue to support us with our development. We support leaders at all levels, and we recognize that leadership exists at all levels in some way in terms of a leader's ability to influence change and make strategic decisions. So we're really focused on developing leaders at a range of levels. And as I mentioned, we know that really good, effective leadership and the leadership development that leads to it is essential for the change that we need to see, within our communities. And we also recognize that leaders grow leaders. It's through modeling good leadership that we develop other leaders, and we're able to grow other leaders, who are also able then to enable that positive social change. So that's what we're about. And we have a history, a really successful history of working closely with a whole range of partners, place-based or other, to ensure that our programs really meet the nuanced needs of leaders working in different social purpose contexts, whether that's regional, or whether that's within different subsectors in the social sector space. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Just to give you a high level, really, mission of the Leadership Lighthouses program. And you might have read something similar to this in our various materials, but I'll leave you just a moment to read this. So it really is about recognizing the already extraordinary leadership that exists amongst social purpose leaders from global majority backgrounds, but it's about strengthening, supporting, and helping them evolve their practice through a program that really meets their nuanced needs as social purpose leaders from global majority backgrounds working in England with the English context and all of the barriers, challenges, and joys that we experience. So this is really focused on supporting leaders specifically from these backgrounds, and growing and evolving and developing the already fantastic work that's being done. So just to give you a little bit more information on the program journey before we look at the components. So the plan is that over 4 years, we will reach 10 locations across England, and through that develop and support 250 leaders from global majority backgrounds. And as I mentioned, this program really truly is aiming to see and respond to the realities and experiences of leaders from global majority backgrounds, working in the social sector. We have a place-based approach. So this is a series, as I say, of 10 programs, with two starting, as you know, in the new year in both Bradford and Oxfordshire. But our place-based approach, which I'll talk a little bit more, really does rely on that collaborative, true partnership approach to ensure that the themes, the methods for learning, the way that the program is structured meets the needs not only of those from global majority backgrounds, but also sees the reality of those contextual, regional, challenges and realities that differ around the country. So we're working with community organizations, community rooted facilitators, a whole range of experts who really are plugged into the Bradford and Oxfordshire context to ensure that the design of the program really speaks to what's happening for you and for other leaders in that place now. Um, it's also an incredible opportunity to be part of a community. So participants who are successful, who go through the program, will not only become Claw Social alumni, but they will be part of a new and growing, and I think it's going to be really powerful. It's really exciting, a Lighthouses network, and eventually there'll be 250 other social purpose leaders from global majority backgrounds who will have gone through that program, who will be part of that cohort. So just to come back to my first point around the importance of community and learning going beyond the life of the program, this really is geared towards participants having access to that ongoing support and care and coaching and guidance from peers. So just to zoom in a little bit on the partnership approach that I've mentioned, it really is a partnership effort, and we know that it takes collaboration, collective wisdom to really build something meaningful, especially when we're working to see and support leaders with nuanced experiences and lived experiences as well as professional realities. So we've been working with a whole range of groups and individuals to ensure that we've got really good challenge. We're scrutinizing our plans really carefully, and we're listening deeply to what's happening within these place-based contexts to ensure that we're designing something that's going to meet needs. So we have a safeguarding lead who's working with us on the design to ensure that we are creating and holding spaces that are truly psychologically safe, that we're thinking really intentionally about language, that we recognize that this kind of leadership experience needs us to be able to reflect openly in a space that's safe about our experiences. So we have a safeguarding lead to ensure that the entire process is safe, and we absolutely centre well-being and wellness in that program journey. So we have a fantastic safeguarding lead who's working with us to ensure that we've got that right. As I mentioned, we have a number of expert advisors, but also local facilitators. So these are leadership and race equity experts, some of which we've already kind of named and promoted through our socials. And it's these people and their wisdom and their expertise who are really going to make this program rich, and ensure that it's meeting those place-based needs. So the facilitators are kind of community rooted. They know what's going on within Oxfordshire and Bradford. And our expert advisors, as I say, are able to ensure that we're getting the leadership themes right, and that we are really skilled up in terms of getting the program design and components right for our participants. Steering group. This is a group, as I've mentioned, that really is challenging, supporting, guiding, and making decisions with us on the shape of the program, how we're reaching participants, and ensuring that it's really, really high quality. Similar to the quality point, we have an independent evaluator. So this isn't just us doing our thing within our central team. We've got an independent evaluator who's holding us to account, who's supporting us with evaluating participant experience, so that we can really continue to learn and grow and iterate and refine throughout this series. So that's the partnership approach. In terms of the program journey, so this is kind of getting now into what does the program entail? What are those key components? So it's a 5 month program, beginning in January 2026, going through to June 2026. And at the moment, our design suggests around 8 days worth of time commitment across those 5 months. So they won't be consecutive intensive days. I'll explain that a little bit more. But across that period, the January to June period, there's around 8 days worth of commitment in terms of learning for participants. We are obviously launching a series of events, and we'll be inviting our first two cohorts to a series launch event, which is a real moment for us to bring both cohorts together, Oxfordshire and Bradford, both sets of facilitators, all of the partners and contributors that I've mentioned, to that launch event. It's just occurred to me that I haven't mentioned a really important partner who's our funder, which was on my previous slide. So this is all possible because of the National Lottery Community Fund, which is how we're able to ensure that this is fully funded and of no cost to participants. So we'll be inviting those that are successful to a launch event in January. And then over the course of these 5 months, there will be around 4 in-person cohort learning days, and they will be local. So there'll be a launch event, but then there will be cohort specific sessions led by your facilitators where you'll be working with your peers, building relationships with that program cohort community. And there's around 4 of those. So we'll start with one at the beginning of the program. And then there'll be 2 in the middle in the form of a leadership retreat, which I'll explain in a little bit more detail. And then a session right at the end where you're able to really consolidate, deepen, and wrap up your learning from the overall program together. So there's about 4 in-person days over the course of the 5 months. This is a really exciting element of the program is our leadership retreat and our experience of residentials and retreats in previous programs, including place-based programs like this, is that they've been really powerful and really highly rated and an opportunity to step away from the reality of your role and to really focus on self, to develop connections and foster those working relationships that can support you throughout your leadership journeys and your careers. But there will be 2 components to those 2 days. It's a one night, 2 day retreat that will be again within those place-based locations. The first day really focusing on self and service. So really thinking about our drivers, our motivators, using the Lumina Spark portrait tool, which again is a really successful component that's helped so many leaders that we support to just really reflect on their kind of traits and behaviors, strengths, superpowers. And it's a psychometric and personality portrait tool that really, in a nuanced way, gives us a sense of how we're showing up. But it's also rooted in our experiences and our conditions, and in the context of this program, it's really important that we think about these things, and that space will be held really safely so that we're able to reflect on our experiences. So the first day will be really focused on self-inquiry, and then the second day of that leadership retreat will be about leading change. So how, with this deeper sense of self, do I now show up and do the work? What are the things that I can do to navigate complex change? How can I ensure that we have an equity-centered approach here? How can I navigate these systemic barriers that are very real for me in my work? So going from that deeper sense of self to leading change, and there'll be a series of workshops. There'll be moments where you're able to connect and walk around the grounds and grab a coffee. So there's a lovely balance between community, um, creating community, as well as workshops and doing the doing within that retreat. There'll be a series of short online cross cohort knowledge sharing events. These are opportunities for participants from both cohorts, Oxfordshire and Bradford, to meet and share. Again, really fostering those kind of connections throughout the program and across cohorts. So these will focus on specific leadership themes that you're able to share and discuss, but also get to know the other cohort at the same time. There'll be 3 or 4 short online 1.5 hour themed workshops where we'll bring in a number of the experts we've spoken about, and they'll be focused on leadership and race equity themes that we're uncovering at the moment as we work with our place-based community plugged partners. I've mentioned Lumina Spark. I really recommend having a little look at what that is online if it's not something you're familiar with. Action learning sets. So throughout the program, you will have 4 facilitated sessions with an action learning expert and facilitator. And the focus of this mechanism of the program, this component, is all about applying the learning from the retreat, from these online themed sessions, from that first welcome session to your context. So we're really creating space to think about the application of what you've learned. And action learning sets are a really powerful way of doing that in a group coaching capacity, where you bring a real challenge in a confidential space with an expert facilitator who knows this process well to think about the application of your learning from the program to your work and to the realities of your roles. So there'll be a series of 4 sessions, and they will be spanned throughout the 5 months. And then in June, there will be an end of program final day where you consolidate learning, as I mentioned, but also celebrate the learning from the program, and that will be at the end of the journey in June. At the end of the 4 years, which feels like a long way away, when you are part of that 250 strong network, we will have an end of series program celebration, which I think is going to be a really wonderful moment. So that's a whistle-stop tour of some of the core components of the program journey. And I'll mention this in a moment, but details around the dates and exactly when these things are happening will be shared in time. And certainly those that are successful from through their application process will have that as soon as possible. But this gives you a sense of the time commitment, the time period, and then the key learning components that we have in mind for the program design. That's a lot of talking from me. We'll give you a moment to ask questions in just a second. To clarify the eligibility criteria, which is available on our website, I've mentioned that this is really focused on and is designed by global majority leaders. And so that is part of the criteria, and it's really important that we're clear about that. And there's more information on exactly how we define that. We can talk about it if there's any questions around that right now. But it is for social purpose leaders from global majority backgrounds and for leaders working within or for social purpose organisations serving communities within Bradford or Oxfordshire, whether that's in a larger charity or non-profit or a small grassroots or community organisation. We're welcoming applications from leaders of organisations of all sizes with all levels of resource. We really want to make this accessible to as many leaders serving communities within these places and these contexts as possible. And then in terms of experience, we're looking for 3+ years of some kind of leadership experience in these kinds of social purpose driven roles. And the best way to describe whether something is a leadership role in terms of the program content and themes, being really relatable and applicable to participants' roles and their work, is that sense of strategic decision making, thinking about the influence that someone might have. So these kinds of programs might attract deputy CEOs, more experienced head of and director roles. There is a real range there. But we would advise 3+ years. But I would say if you're unsure, please reach out for a chat. Get in touch with us if you'd like us to support you and sound out whether we think this would be suitable for you. But 3+ years hopefully is kind of open enough and not too high to ensure that we are getting lots of you through this program. So that's the criteria. And then finally, before we hand over to you for any questions, some key dates to have in mind. So applications are open currently, and you can find the forms for both the Bradford and Oxfordshire programs on our website. The closing date is at the very end of the day, 11:59 p.m. on the 12th of December. Just a couple of things to guide you here on the application, just to let you know, it's about a 25-minute online form. And really, there are two key questions. We're trying to make this as simple and not too onerous for applicants, but also as accessible as possible. Those two key questions are about us getting a sense of why you want to go on this program, what your intentions are, and what you would like to get out of it. What is it as a leader that you feel you need to develop? And how can this program support you? So this gives us a sense of where you're at on your leadership journey and what you would like to gain from a program like this to strengthen your leadership and to develop within your career and your roles. So your response to those two questions is what will form the core part of your application. And then we'll share outcomes a week later, so by the 19th of December, before lots of us kind of pause and slow down for Christmas. So you'll have that outcome before we finish for Christmas. And then, as I mentioned, we'll share with successful applicants the details of the dates, the timings, so that we can ensure that we have those in calendars and you can protect that time for the new year. It's worth, if you are applying, getting this hold in your diary. We're going to confirm exactly the date, but for successful applicants, we'll be inviting them to the launch event that I mentioned, the whole program launch event. We'll be coming together with both cohorts, all stakeholders and contributors, all partners, week commencing the 26th of January, 2026. And as I mentioned, and you'll see our email address on the bottom left there, if you need a hand at all with accessing the application process, if you've got any questions, there is no question too small or silly. We're really here to listen and support. So just ping us an email. We'd be really happy to jump on a call or email and support. So we've gone through the purpose, we've talked about the mission, why this is so important, the partners, and our approach to the program design so far. Um, a moment now to ask any questions. We are here for those. So I'll just pause for a second for you to kind of process all of that and let us know if you have any questions. Please unmute and share or pop it in the chat. Okay, great. I will give it just a few more seconds because people might be typing. Um, No. Okay. So Rainolf has kindly popped our email address and the links to the program application and program information on our website. Please do get in touch if you have any questions at all. Or if there's something that hasn't quite been answered or that's unclear, just come back to us and we really happily give you those answers. So yeah, thank you so much for coming along, for showing your interest in the program. We're really, really excited about it. And we welcome your applications. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Kiana.